It seems like this year is all about budget-friendly GMTs. So today we're going to be taking a look at a unique GMT from a Danish brand you probably never even heard of. Hey everyone, welcome to Clicky Bezel. This is Chris. So before we get into the review of this GMT watch, I just want to thank our sponsor for today's video. So About Vintage is a brand based in Denmark, and they're relatively new to the whole watch world, bringing in their love for vintage watch aesthetics in a minimalist and affordable package. So unlike a lot of micro brands out there that basically copy design aesthetics from legendary watches, About Vintage pays tribute to the past while keeping it really modern and pretty unique with their own identity as well. And at the same time, their mission is to become a completely carbon neutral company while supporting some climate initiatives like the Turtle Foundation, which this actual watch supports. And not many of you know this about me, but I kind of have a thing for turtles. On all of my vehicles, there's a small turtle on the back end. I like turtles, what can I say? And every purchase of this specific watch from About Vintage saves a few turtles, and I can totally get behind that. Also, please do consider sticking around to the very end of this video. We plan on giving away one of these GMT watches from About Vintage, so please be sure to stick around to the end for some more details. Now you guys probably know me by now when it comes to unboxings. I usually skip the unboxings as it's usually not that exciting, but I have to say this box from About Vintage is pretty impressive. It actually comes in a wooden box, and it's nicely decorated with a pretty good presentation to it as well. And on their website, when you purchase their watch, it also comes with an extra strap option as well. I opted for the 5-link Jubilee bracelet that they have, also this brown leather strap option that they have as well, which I think is a great look. Now my first impressions of the watch when I opened up the box, I was pleasantly surprised from its vintage cues. The first thing I noticed was the bezel. The bezel happens to be a lot thinner than a lot of modern watches nowadays, especially those with, either a dive bezel or a GMT bezel. And that really does give a nod to the vintage cues of the watch. The second thing I noticed right off the bat are those hour markers. At first I thought each of the hour markers were the same size, but upon looking at them a little bit closer, it seems that the 12, 6, and 9 hour markers are slightly larger to give it a little more presence when reading the time. I'm not sure if it kind of confuses my eyes, because sometimes upon looking at the dial, I can tell that it's a little slightly larger, and I don't know if that bothers me. If you're just taking a quick glance to look at your watch, I think it's totally fine. And it seems like this is the quirk or the design cue of the About Vintage brand. Now, something I found really interesting about this watch, yes, it does have a domed crystal, and it's a really nice domed crystal as well that plays a part of this vintage aesthetic that it's going for. However, when touching it, it almost confused me. It does feel a lot like acrylic, which is really odd. You know how like sapphire or some other glass crystals out there from other manufacturers, it has that cold to the touch feeling, which you don't really get with acrylic crystals. However, this one, maybe it's just the climate that I'm in, but it doesn't feel as cold to the touch compared to other sapphire crystals. It's just a really nice touch. When you're looking at your watch at different angles on your wrist, it really does distort the crystal, which I always enjoy and I appreciate it. It makes looking at the dial a little bit more interesting to look at. And speaking of the dial, it does have this cross-hatched design, and it plays really well with those hour markers as well too. When you look at the hour markers really up close, it almost looks applied. The hour markers are raised. It gives a little bit more dimension to the dial, makes it a little bit more interesting to look at, and that's always appreciated on these somewhat simple watch dials. And with this watch, you're getting that green and gold theme going on with a pop of orange on that GMT hand. And you know me, I'm always a fan of orange, and it's done very tastefully here as well. Now, I haven't measured the dial diameter with my calipers, but this one on their website measures at 41 millimeters. However, it feels a lot and looks a lot like a 40 millimeter, which is my preferred size for a sport watch. And sometimes in certain lighting conditions, the dial does appear black or a dark gray sometimes, but then in broad daylight, it is a really nice olive green tone to it. Now, I had the opportunity to wear this watch on the wrist for a solid week now, and I have to say, I am very pleasantly surprised with this. Sometimes I forget I am wearing a modern watch, but just by looking at it, it really gives a vintage aesthetic vibe to it. But knowing that there are modern materials and a solid movement that goes behind it is pretty nice, and it keeps your wallet plenty. Now, I'm pretty picky with my Jubilee bracelets. This bracelet, however, is very robust, especially the clasp. There's a good feeling and snap to the clasp. I'm more of a bracelet guy myself, so most of the time that watch lives on that Jubilee bracelet. However, if you're not really into bracelets or Jubilee bracelets, there are other options, and they do supply you with another strap if you would like, and it's up to you what kind of strap you want. I opted for this leather strap, and they made it super easy with these quick release spring bars for both the bracelets and the leather straps. It just makes changing the look of these watches super easy for everyone. These watches are rocking a Ronda quartz GMT movement. They're solid movements, you can't really complain about them. They don't offer true GMT functionality. You can use it more in tune as a traveler's GMT. So it is still possible to track your local and GMT time. So if you really want to operate your GMT in a vintage fashion, you can always just use your bezel to set your GMT time. Also, this does have a clicky bezel, and it is bidirectional like a lot of GMTs and proper GMTs that should have. It is 60 click. However, one little gripe I have about it, it doesn't really line up exactly to the hour markers, but that's really nitpicking the watch. I can still get a general understanding of where it's supposed to line up with the hour markers. If you're looking for something with that vintage charm but without paying vintage watch prices, I think this is a really good buy. And with this year being what it seems like the year of affordable GMTs, this is a good option if you want something from a smaller brand or something that leans more towards vintage territory. And of course, if you want to save turtles. I hope you all enjoyed this 1954 GMT from About Vintage. If you're interested in any of their watches, you can go ahead and check out their watches on aboutvintage.com. However, if you're interested in participating in a giveaway, all you have to do is like this video and comment what you think of this 1954 GMT. Also, you must be a subscriber to this channel to be eligible to enter, and also be a follower of the About Vintage Instagram page. And that's basically it. There'll be more details on this giveaway for eligibility in the description below. Well, I hope all of you enjoyed this video, and best of luck to all of you that are participating in this giveaway.